We're talking all week about what's real, and today we're going to talk about the A. That's right, activate. It's all about what you activate, and you activate by what you recognize and what you evaluate. That leads to what the action steps are so you can activate. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote provides an opportunity for business owners and leaders to discover what is real for them and to be impacted by what is real for others. That is the Renegade way. Let's get real. We all face challenges and get stuck occasionally and are looking for an antidote. Each weekday, this show dives into a topic that may have you stuck, frustrated, and uncertain. Our goal is to share our value in an effort to help you find that one thing, the antidote to your challenges, so that you can get results and make more money. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Good morning. Did you just smash your guitar at the end of that intro?
I just smashed my guitar on my desk. I did. And for tomorrow's episode, I will play it behind my head.
For those of you who don't know, I can see Bob while the intro is going on, and he has really gotten into the new music that we have put in, and he gets into it, which I like. Appreciate it.
I try and make Tom laugh. That's my thing now. So
fair enough. You want to give the
disclaimer? Yes. Sad news, folks. This is recorded. Tom and I are wearing the same clothes we were wearing Tuesday and Wednesday. And now it's Thursday, same clothes. It's not that we don't change clothes. It's not that we have uniforms. It's that we are recording this episode because, alas, I have a conflict. So you can't put your you can put your comments in, but we cannot put your comments on the program. But we will look at them in the comments. I promise. We will look and we'll even respond. So feel free to use the comments. You could put your celebrations. You could put what you're getting real about. You could put, hey, I want to talk to you guys about some help for my business or my leadership role. We'd be happy to respond to any and all those.
Yes. And for those of you on the podcast, don't listen. None of that matters. It's always recorded for you. So you get to just a chance to hear it the way it is. Know that this is where we're at. And we know you can't comment either. We talked about that for about 500 episodes. So don't worry about making your comments unless you want to. And then you can go to our Sculpt Your Business Facebook group and you can share them there if you'd like. All right, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. It's today's Antidote. We're going to have a discussion. And we've been talking, as Bob mentioned all week, about what's real. REAL in all caps. What are those called?
Acronyms.
Acronym. Right. I couldn't think of what the word was. It's the acronym of what's real, because we all know that what's real is your knowledge, experience, and perspective. We've been talking about that for 600 episodes. And now we're going to dive into a little bit. Let's look at those letters individually. Monday, we talked about our new platform, and it's not 2022 anymore. And what was real?
No, it's not 2020 anymore.
Sorry, 2020 anymore. It's not 2022 anymore either. So that was sort of correct, just off. And
okay,
Monday we talked about
Tuesday.
Tuesday we talked about recognize. Wednesday we talked about evaluate, and today we're going to talk about activate. So as we have that conversation, if you have any thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, please, as Bob mentioned, put them in the comments. We can't add them to the show, although people will benefit from reading them as they are watching the show later, or in their real time, not our real time. That gets confusing. Sorry. Anyhow, and then at the conclusion of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you. If you happen to be struck, frustrated, like you're not really sure, you maybe recognize what's going on and you've evaluated a little bit. Well, now that I know that, what do I do next? That's a real conversation piece. We'd be happy to have further conversations with you about that. Maybe we'll give you a piece of that today. And you might need more than that. And if that's the case, please reach out to Bob or I. We'd be happy to talk to you about how you can put that all together to make sure that the final quarter of the year is going to be successful. You can get results and make more money. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to Bob or me. Before we dive into the conversation, though, each day we want to give you a chance in the comments to share what you're celebrating. And we will try to put them in As Bob mentioned yesterday, maybe he hits a hole in one 2 days in a row and he's going to share that as a celebration. Who knows?
Nice.
And I will try to pay attention and add my celebrations as well once this gets posted. We also want to have conversations about what's real. So, Bob, do you have anything you want to share about what's real?
Whoa. Hey, something just happened on my screen. That was weird. Something just popped up in front of you on my screen. I wasn't expecting it. That's what was real in the moment. So I send out an email I'm a little sporadic about it. I send it out to a database of people. And I realized that I changed platforms recently. And when I changed platforms, I recognized that I don't get my email. And so I don't know if it actually went out or not. So I was evaluating this yesterday because I sent out my email. I'm like, oh, I wonder if it went out. And I can see the diagnostics that say it went out to people, but I've gotten no feedback from anyone. So I evaluated it and said, this is not a good situation. So the activation is I'm going to actually take the action step of adding my email address to my email list so that I can learn in the future whether it actually goes out or not, because presumably it would come to my email address if it goes out. So it's a simple thing. Somehow my email address got lost in the shuffle. I do not know why, but it just occurred to me. I've sent this out through this platform now 3 times, and I've never gotten an email from myself. So one of those things. And had we not been going through this process each day, I wouldn't have realized that until just now. I was like, I need to figure out why I'm not getting my email. And then I figured out that it's because my address is not in there.
You might want to also go back and listen to yesterday's conversation about evaluate. Sounds like when you were doing your evaluation, you dove right into a judgment.
Okay. And I think we're prone to that.
Sure. Of course.
I think that's, that's one of the challenges I think we have.
Well,
right?
I think it's one of the reasons why sometimes we activate, create actions, and take them maybe before we have really evaluated what's going on. We get feedback. Your feedback was, I haven't gotten any emails,
right?
Any responses, any feedback to my messages. Like, you immediately dove into this isn't right. What's going wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have switched systems, blah, blah, blah. All of that sounds like you actually took some time to consider like what was going on and asked yourself the 3 questions that we mentioned yesterday. I want to go back and listen to the end of the show when I shared those 3 questions. And that helped you find something that you could activate that would at least give you some different feedback.
Yes.
On what's going on. And I think that's the piece with activate is I think it can be easy to say, I took actions.
Mm-hmm.
This happened and I immediately took actions. Okay. Well, are you sure those were the actions that would be helpful to what's going on? The actions you could have taken had you further moved into your judgment, get rid of the whole system and go back to the old one.
Right.
And I think that's sometimes what we're prone to do. We get feedback in our evaluation and we take it as the truth. And then we make choices and activate those choices because of that. And I think that that's, part of the challenge. And then we just end up further down the rabbit hole of, geez, then, had you gone back to the old system, you'd have been like, well, this doesn't have all the features and whatever that I really wanted, which is why I switched. Maybe I need to go back again. And now you're in this position of being stuck.
Right.
And not really sure what to do, how to figure out what action to take and then actually take it. I think it's that part of, we can activate. It is what we're doing to activate something that's helping us move forward or is going to get us more stuck, frustrated, uncertain, overwhelmed, think of the chaos that would have been going on in your head if that was one of the things you had considered.
Oh yeah. And we do it all the time.
Sure.
Every one of us does it. it's difficult to get away from. And I think that's what you and I are trying to help people with, is figuring out how to see ways around some of these obstacles that we all face. And you and I have faced them, and we've come up with this pathway because we've experienced it separately, together, and we've really spent a lot of time thinking through these things and how our experiences inform what we're doing. Sometimes people are like, oh, you guys just figured this out. It's like, no, we've spent hours, days, weeks, months, years going through this. And you and I have spent a lot of time just talking through these things.
903 episodes worth at least a minimum.
Right. Plus all the time outside of that.
Correct.
Yeah. It's not.
Well, I think that's part of what this is the conversation. Part of what this conversation is, and I think we said that it's said in the intro, is us being real with what's going on for us, what's happening around us, and then trying to figure out, like, what do we do once we know what's real? And I think that's one of the key things, is until we get real with ourselves, it's going to be really hard to figure out how to get the results that we desire, make more money, and be in a spot that allows us to do whatever it is we want to do.
Right. I think it's what gets in the way. It's certainly gotten in my way many times. And sometimes it's very simple things that, if I recognize them and looked at and evaluate them, not that was horrible, I can't move past it, or that was amazing, I should never have to think about it again. When I'm real with it, that's when we have the opportunity.
And it changes how we activate it, right?
Absolutely. It completely changes it, because I've certainly seen situations where what I've done to activate has been completely different than what I was thinking in my head when I started the discussion.
Well, and I think that's a piece of it, is thinking in your head. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And I think that's where we get stuck, is that we're trying to do this all on our own. We had a conversation the other day about a situation that probably was at one point a part of our lives, and probably a part of other people's lives, where they were in a situation, let's say they were in a job, and seemed to be having all sorts of success for a while. And then at some point, they were let go, fired, reorganized out of a role, and
contract not renewed.
Not renewed, correct. And as we went to evaluate that, we went and said, well, we forget all the things that we had success at, and what was real for us and what we had done had value until it didn't. And then we say, well, if it stopped having value, as I start to think about what's next, I don't want to do that again, because that's where it got me. And so I got to do something completely different. And in doing that completely different thing, we likely moved into an area that we don't have a lot of knowledge, experience, and perspective around, which makes it easy for us to get stuck.
Yeah.
Because we've said, that didn't work, and that was the result I got, even though results change over time. We try to remind people. So I'm going to go in a completely different direction, which likely is going to take a lot longer, because you don't have the knowledge, experience, and perspective around it. It means that your evaluation was more probably about judgment. And so your activation was based on that judgment, that made it more and more challenging for you to get to where you want to do and be. And you might be in a position where you're stuck and frustrated, and you might not yet be over the upset, frustration from the results that you got based on what you were doing. And so you're trying to completely change all of that.
You mean you might be bitter?
Yes. I couldn't come up with the word, so I was talking around it. So
it's so funny. You cannot come up with that word each time.
Maybe I just try to put it out of my head as something that doesn't have a whole lot of value.
Well, you experienced it, though.
Sure,
right?
Of course. Yeah.
I certainly experienced it. It slowed me down. It has slowed me down.
I had the benefit of having it twice. And I think what happened was, the first time I was stuck in my bitterness. Even though I really tried hard not to portray that to the outside world, I was definitely bitter. and spent a lot of time thinking about that. And so thinking, okay, well, if that didn't work, I need to do something different.
Completely different, right?
Completely different. Yes.
Like everything that happened before that moment
had no value.
Had no value. Yes. That's the thing. And I went through the same thing as well. It's like, oh, okay, that didn't work the way I expected. Never doing any of that before.
Correct.
And it really, if you think about it, those things actually inform whatever you do. You can't erase your memories.
No, you can just they can just have a less significant impact on you.
Right.
Because it happened to me a second time, and I had very little bitterness at all.
But the skills that you developed in those roles are what you use now.
Correct.
A lot.
And from those experiences.
Right. And same with me. And I think for a lot of people, it's the opposite. It's like, well, you know, I was X, and now I'm never going to do anything related to X ever again. And even though you could shift completely, you could go from being a police officer to a trash collector. Some of those skills, dealing with people, dealing with traffic, dealing with various problems, you're going to face them again and again. And I think that's one of the things that we realized kind of really powerfully in the last couple of weeks. The whole idea that the bitterness really bubbles up and takes control in a way that we hadn't really realized until we both were comparing notes and going, yeah, you know, that really was. That was bad.
Well, and it comes back to judgment, right? The judgment gets you to bitterness. Is that once we get in that place of judging, trying to understand or trying to justify what happened or why it happened, it becomes very difficult, and it's easy to become bitter, or you know, even if you're not bitter, you're stuck, frustrated, and confused. You're just not sure what to do next. Well, this is all I've known, and it worked for a long time, and then it didn't. And instead of being like, oh, okay, that's just one piece of the big puzzle, it becomes the biggest, only piece of the puzzle, which says, okay, I need to start a new puzzle because that piece doesn't fit anymore. And I think that becomes really hard to then activate based on that. And the activations that you take typically lead you in a whole nother direction, which makes it hard to get the results that you want. If you're doing something you've never done before, trying to do it in a way that you've never done it before, it can be easy, excuse me, to get frustrated and stuck with where you're at.
And with the people around you saying, why don't you go back and do that thing that you're really bitter about? Because they don't understand. That's what they know you as.
Right.
You're the police officer. Why would you want to go be a garbage collector? That's
and even
silly.
though
You've always been a police officer, I know you as a police officer, keep being a police officer. Well, no, I want to go be a garbage collector.
And even though you've managed some of the bitterness, as you said, it's still part of our experience. And it's still there. And we're like, yeah, this is why I can't go back and be a police officer.
Right.
You might not want to share that with anyone, and yet you know. So you look at something completely different rather than saying, what were the things about it that I really valued and that worked for me for a long time, and how do I implement that in another way?
Right.
I think are some of the challenges. So do you have your one thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think so much of what we end up activating is things that are deeply embedded in us. You know, I look at where I've had success in my career, and it's going back to the things that I started my career in. You know, communication, that's really a key. Teaching, really a key to my career. And no matter what I do, those roles keep cropping up again and again. I might not do it in the same capacity, but it keeps coming back. And the more I try to flee it because that role didn't work out the way I expected it to, the further I get away from it, the less happy and the less productive I feel like I am. When I get back to what I'm really intrinsically good at, it feels better. And I think it creates opportunities because I'm in my comfort zone in terms of what the core skills I'm using are. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I think it ties in with mine.
Okay.
And mine is, I think this is the step that everyone wants to take and jump to this, right? I'm in a situation where let me just take action.
Right.
Before doing the other work of recognizing where you're at, evaluating why it's there, and then from that, helping to determine what are the action that you should take. And I think so often we just jump to the action. I know that in the first time that situation arose for me and I was bitter, I just jumped at something because I needed something. Felt like I needed something.
Yeah.
And, that took me down a pathway that I don't regret because it was what I did in the moment. Again, back to that. And it was something and it provided me with new knowledge, experience, and perspective that was valuable. Yet it probably took me a little different way, which might have made what I might have gotten to where I am now quicker doing something different. If I had not let that need to just activate, just jump in. And I think that we want to jump right to this step. Like, yes. I'm in this spot, I just have to do something. And rather than saying, wait a minute, let me go through the first 2 steps before I just jump in and take an action. It's just we sometimes think, and we talk about the importance of taking the next step. Mm-hmm. And I think that the next step with that includes, let's think a little bit about and go through the first 2 and not just do the first thing that comes to our head. Because I think that becomes the fallback, right? Is, hey, this popped into my head. Let me go do this because I think this is it's different from what I was doing. And it might be the next best thing. And let me go try it. And I haven't really thought out how does that fit with what's real for me.
I like that.
Thanks. All right, everyone. If you have your one thing, your antidote that you'd like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments. If you're listening to our podcast where there is no place to comment, sorry about that. Please join us in our Sculpt Your Business Facebook group where you can share your thoughts and ideas there and gain from the thoughts and ideas shared by others. If you're really struggling with this and feel like you're that person who jumps to activate just to activate and hasn't really gone through the process of recognizing and evaluating and then activating so that you are making a decision that you can with all the information that you have in the moment, reach out to Bob and me because I think we have some information and have an opportunity to help you, especially at this time as we close the end of the third quarter, run it out end of the summer, and the start of Labor Day. The fourth quarter is upon us. And if you are going to get the results you want and make the money you want by the end of this year, do you have a plan? And our goal is to help you create a plan, and we can help you do that. So please feel free to reach out to us. So we'll look forward to seeing you inside of our Facebook group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
Hey, in the meantime, folks, embrace the renegading you. You will thank yourself 1,000 times over.
And it's so worth it.
I need.
All right, everybody, go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Hey, you're probably trying to figure out how can you get real with your business. We want to help you. Go to our Get Real, Get Results, Make More Money program. It's easy. We're enrolling people right now. In the course of 17 weeks, you can figure out exactly how to get real, get those results, and make more money. And make more money isn't just about making more money. It's about finding the freedom to do the things you want to do. Like, I don't know, hypothetically, go play golf for a couple days. Just saying, it could happen. I know what it's like. You could have that too. Join our program. Go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. All the details are there. We'll see you there soon.